All right, let's jump right in. Have you ever had that feeling? You've got this incredible idea, this story you're dying to tell, but you just can't start? Well, today, we're going to talk about a secret weapon that most people completely overlook, the actual space around you. Turns out, your environment might just be the key to unlocking everything you've got inside. You know the image I'm talking about, right? We all have it in our heads. This perfect, grand writer's studio. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a huge mahogany desk, maybe a fireplace crackling in the corner. It's a beautiful picture for sure, but man, can it be intimidating? It makes creativity feel like this exclusive club you need a membership for. But here's the thing. That whole perfect movie set writing room, it's a total myth. So if that's not the answer, what is? What's the real, actual thing you need to finally sit down, tune out the world, and get those ideas onto the page? That's exactly what we're about to figure out. So first up, let's talk about why you might be feeling stuck in the first place. Because the real problem might not be what you think it is. It's not about time, it's not about confidence, it's about permission. You know, the writer Susanna Barlow absolutely nails this. We're always telling ourselves, oh, if I just had more time. But what she argues is that creating a dedicated physical space for your work does something way more powerful. It gives you permission. It sends a signal straight to your brain that says, hey, this is important. You are allowed to be here and do this work. And this isn't some new idea. I mean, Virginia Woolf was talking about this ages ago with her concept of a room of one's own. And she wasn't just talking about four walls and a door. What she really meant was a psychological safe zone, a place where you can feel totally free to think your thoughts without anyone judging or interrupting you. Okay, so if the perfect writer's den is a myth, what's the reality? Well, it turns out there's this huge spectrum of what actually works for people. And I mean, from one wild extreme to the other. Just think about these two polar opposites. On one hand, you've got the author Wayne Johnston, who literally writes in a windowless room he calls the bunker, total silence, zero distractions. But then, on the other end, you have that classic writer who thrives in a bustling cafe, surrounded by the hum of conversation and the smell of coffee. See? Neither one is right or wrong. It's all about finding what fuels you. And this is where it gets really freeing. Your room doesn't have to be a room at all. Seriously. It can be just one corner of your kitchen table that you keep clear. It can be your favorite armchair by the window. It could even be a portable space, a specific backpack with your notebook and pens that you take to the park. The point isn't how big or fancy it is, it's just that you've named it as your spot. Okay, so we've busted some myths, we've looked at the possibilities. Now, let's get practical. How do you actually build this creative sanctuary for yourself? Let's break it down into a super simple 4-step toolkit. It really is this straightforward. Step 1, you find your spot. Step 2, you clear the chaos. Step 3, you make it yours. And step 4, you set a ritual. So let's talk about step 2 for a sec, because it's a big one. This is so important. If your designated spot is buried under a pile of mail and dirty coffee mugs, your brain has to work so much harder just to ignore all that stuff. When you clear a space, even if it's just a tiny patch on your desk, you're literally creating mental space. You're giving your ideas room to show up and breathe. And that brings us to setting a ritual. This is where a little bit of cool brain science comes into play. By creating a writing signal, you're basically using Pavlovian conditioning on yourself. You're training your brain so that every time you do this one little thing, it automatically knows, oh, it's time to be creative. It's an amazing shortcut. And these signals can be anything. It doesn't have to be complicated. It could be a certain scented candle you only ever light when you sit down to write. Or maybe it's a special mug that is only for your writing tea. Or maybe you just put on a specific playlist. After a while, that simple act becomes a powerful trigger that tells your brain, okay, we're here, let's do this. So yeah, all this stuff is fantastic for getting words on the page, but carving out a space for your creativity, the real benefits go so much deeper than just your word count. Let's get into the true payoff here. First off, it gives you legitimacy. Battling that little voice in your head that says you're not a real writer, claiming a physical space is like planting a flag. You are physically declaring to yourself, I am a creator, and my work is important enough to deserve this space. It's a huge step in beating imposter syndrome. And that legitimacy has a ripple effect. When you start taking your work seriously enough to give it a physical home, other people start to respect it too. A closed door or just seeing you in your spot with headphones on becomes a really clear, non-confrontational sign to your family or roommates that says, hey, This is important time. You know, a lot of us have what Susanna Barlow calls creative scars. Maybe it was a parent who told you being an artist wasn't a real job, or a teacher who was way too harsh. Your little sanctuary can be a safe place to heal from all that. It's a spot where you make the rules, and you can reconnect with your own voice, on your own terms. Let's be honest, the world feels pretty chaotic a lot of the time. Your creative space can be the one little corner of the universe that you have complete and total control over. You decide what's in it, you decide what it feels like, and that sense of control creates an incredible feeling of safety and calm, which, by the way, is the perfect environment for new ideas to grow. The great mythologist Joseph Campbell had a name for this. He called it a sacred space. And I just love that. He said it's a place where you can just be with yourself, a place to connect not only with who you are right now, but with the person you're becoming through your work. It's so much more than just a desk. So look, at the end of the day, it doesn't need to be a fancy library. It doesn't need to be a quiet cabin in the woods. It just needs to be yours. It needs to be a space that when you enter it, just whispers to you, hey, you can relax here. Stay a while. So the real question isn't whether or not you can do this. The question is, what will your sanctuary look like?